this morning, slash whatever time you're watching this. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. We are going to be looking at some trivia regarding Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. So I've gathered some info about this film, some behind the scenes stuff, some controversial issues, and some fairly interesting facts surrounding the film. First of all, I'm going to start by telling you who's in the cast. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the film says on the back. Now, usually on the back of a DVD it tells you what the film's about, not this one. I'll get to that in a minute. So, I've got some notes just in front of me here on my computer that I've put together. So, Taxi Driver came out in 1976. It lasts for around 1 hour and 54 minutes, so it's just under the 2-hour mark. And it stars Robert DeNiro, Jodie Foster, Sybil Shepherd, Albert Brooks and Harvey Keitel. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, and it was directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Paul Schrader, who also did the screenplay for Raging Bull. So, on the back here, I'm just thinking, is there any spoilers? I don't think there are. All the trivia facts that I've got here are spoiler free, so don't worry if you've not seen it. So there's a picture here of, actually is this okay to show? I'm sure it is. I don't even know. See, the thing is, one of the characters is a 13-year-old prostitute. It's a weird thing to show. I shouldn't have said anything, I've just made it awkward now. Right, so this is the back, and we've got Travis Bickle, who is the character played by Robert De Niro, and then we've got Jodie Foster over here. So, on the back it says, Taxi Driver provoked fierce controversy when it was released, running into censorship problems in America, as some of the scenes were described to be as gory as Clockwork Orange and Straw Dogs. In addition, just checking we're still recording, there's always a big panic of mine. Right, we're good. In addition, there was outcry at a 13-year-old schoolgirl actress, Jodie Foster, co-starring as a prostitute. It won Best Picture at the 1976 Cannes Film Festival and received Academy Award nominations for Best Film, Best Actor, and Best Supporting Actress. Considered to be one of the most powerful films in motion picture history, a film which is a savage piece of work and hellishly brilliant. And then Empire have got a very small review here on the back which says, De Niro's performance and the direction of Martin Scorsese make Taxi Driver one of the pivotal films of the 70s, disturbing and endlessly watchable. It's got the age certificate of 18, which is pretty fair enough, to be honest, considering the content inside the movie, and don't think there's much else interesting to talk about on the back there. So, aside from the title, if you've not seen this film before, you're probably wondering what's it actually about, because that doesn't give you any insight at all, and if you just pick that up, you'd be like, well, thanks, but that doesn't help me. So, very quickly I'll try and summarise. It is indeed about a taxi driver, and he's based in New York. He's a former scent, I would maybe say. And yeah, the way he is and his thoughts then resolve towards the end of the film. That's all I'll say, without giving anything away. Unintentional poetry there, okay? So, now I've got a few different pieces of trivia here, which some I had heard of before and some I hadn't, so these are quite interesting. So first of all, despite the fact that Robert DeNiro won an Oscar for Godfather Part 2 in 74, which is 2 years before, he was still a relatively unfamiliar face and was only recognised once while driving a New York cab taxi during his research for the film. The scene where Travis Bickle is talking to himself in the mirror was completely ad-libbed by Robert De Niro. The screenplay details just said, Travis looks in the mirror. Martin Scorsese claims that he got the inspiration for the scene from Marlon Brando mouthing words in front of a mirror in the film Reflections in a Golden Eye. As a film that I've never seen, please let me know if you've seen it, because I have no idea what it's about. I'm guessing it's to do with... Do you know what? I have no idea. So yeah, if you've seen that, is it worth watching? However, Robert De Niro has claimed that the You Talking to Me scene was inspired by Bruce Springsteen's banter with his audience at a mid-1970s gig. So it's up for debate who you want to believe. There was also another source that said it gave another reason or another claim to where the inspiration came from. Oh yeah, it was to do with some sort of acting class where they would do that as a training exercise. I can't remember the details on that, but that was definitely something that cropped up. So Harvey Keitel's character is a pimp, and to help him kind of get into character, into his part, he rehearsed with real pimps to help him prepare. The scene where he and Iris, who's played by Jodie Foster, when they dance, that was completely improvised, and it's one of the only two scenes in the film that does not focus on Robert De Niro's character, Travis Bickle. This whispering business is extremely, what's the word? It's a different feel for speaking for a long amount of time. I can feel it in my ribs. Anyway, excuse me, that sounded like a strange noise. Due to a garbage strike, much of the on-screen filth is real, which I suppose gives a certain amount of authenticity to it. Steven Spielberg visited the music recording sessions of this movie to tell composer Bernard Herrmann how much he admired his work. Herrmann responded, "Oh yeah, then why do you always use John Williams for your films?" Which, I mean, if you've got John Williams on speed dial, you would use him, but interesting retort from him. Paul Schrader, the writer, wrote the part of Travis Bickle with Jeff Bridges in mind. Martin Scorsese has said that he offered the role of Travis to Dustin Hoffman, who refused. He turned down the role because he thought Martin Scorsese was crazy, which I think would be a great line in a rap song. Martin Scorsese was crazy. Anyway, he's since regretted that decision. In the coffee and pie scene, Travis orders apple pie with melted cheese. stayed in character throughout production. In 2005, it was announced that the film was going to be getting made into a video game and was set for release in 2006, but the video game was cancelled and never made it to stores. Only a trailer of the game was released. Now, I should probably look up this trailer because I'd be very intrigued to see what it looks like, because it sounds to me like it would be a kind of poor man's version of GTA or something. I can't think of the last game that was kind of based on a movie that was completely successful. You could argue that that's Spider-Man 1 on PlayStation, but I don't think that was based on the movie. Maybe it was. I'm trying to think what other games based on movies there's been. I believe there was a Godfather one, but I never played that. But then I suppose nowadays it's kind of the other way around, that games lead into movies. I suppose, like, you've got Hitman, Assassin's Creed, but I mean, these films, Tomb Raider, they're not strong standout films really. No offense to the people who have put a lot of work into those films, but you know what I mean. The film draws many parallels with serial killer David Berkowitz, who was named the Son of Sam. He and Travis were mentally ill ex-soldiers who were disgusted by what they saw. In the fall of the mid-1970s in New York City, both were insomniacs and both used the same revolver. Berkowitz worked as a taxi driver before famously joining the post office. Although Berkowitz had already committed non-fatal stabbings and arson before the release of the film in February 1976, he did not begin his shooting spree until several months afterwards. It is unknown whether Berkowitz ever saw this movie. Due to the kind of similarities, especially in terms of occupation, etc., etc., it's one of those ones where it's very close, isn't it? Let me know what you think about that one. Anyway, that's the facts that I picked out that I thought were of interest. There's a lot to do with this film, especially the controversial circumstances that surround it, and I suppose if you go back in your head to 1976, a lot of the themes that are in this film are considerably strong, and would probably be quite shocking in a time where things like the Vietnam War were very much topical. I just watched The Shining again tonight, and I was thinking, I think that came out in 1980. I'll maybe do another video on The Shining like this one. But yeah, it came out in 1980, and because I saw it, I don't know how long ago, maybe 10 plus years ago, because I've seen other more recent horror movies that are a lot more gory, are a lot more psychological, a lot more creepy. The Shining nowadays isn't an overly terrifying film, but I can understand in a time where stuff like that wasn't commonplace, it probably would have been quite a surprise. Same with Clockwork Orange. But yeah, Taxi Driver. I mean, there's a lot of... When I was watching Joker, I was getting a lot of similarities in my head to that. So if you like Joker, I think if you've not seen this, it's worth watching. And it stars Robert DeNiro, who's in Joker as well. So that is Taxi Driver. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, and have a nice day, afternoon, evening, and I will see